But yeah, it's heartbreaking, and I don't think that anybody should even, take this lightly. And I'll keep saying this. Just recently, this week or so, we've seen a documentary from a sister station on how pupils are sleeping on their bellies because they don't have desks, they don't have books. And we've covered this over and over and over again.
Yeah, we
Schools under trees. I remember during COVID, there was a whole story that Armstrong did about students and how they were all, crammed together and all that. I mean, there's very serious issues in this country. And to think that we had that much money, over 21 billion Ghana cedis in this country, and we saw a chunk of it being wasted on things that we did not need. Facilities that didn't even have anything to do with COVID, receiving medical facility, wasting money on vaccines that we never received. And you ask the question, if all this is happening, are leaders really concerned about developing this nation like they promised us that they would? I'm not sure they are. I'm really worried about it. And I know every Ghanaian is
this
worried
one
as
is
well.
not about leaders, it's about the president.
No,
because the president, when he was being sworn into
and
office...
everybody else who works for him.
Well, so at the end of the day, the buck stops at his doorsteps or his office. Because the president gave us assurances when he was being sworn in office on 7th of January 2017 that he was going to protect the public purse. And if for today, and this one is even a special audit, of course, mandated by the Constitution, if you go to Article 187, for the Auditor General to undertake. And even was at the instance of Parliament, because consistently, the minority had indicated that if you take a look at the way expenditures were undertaken, even though within the public space and on the side of the political divide where the president belonged, it was said to be so-called politicking, you could see for today that expenditures were just not well appropriated. Because it's very basic. If all of us belong to one company, and we all belong to entities or have incorporated entities or work with entities for that matter, if you go and apply for some funds to be spent, what do they say? You come and retire. Is that not what they say? If you know that, let's say, we went to Sal, Santro Kofi, Akpafu, Lolobi, and Likpe. You went to do an activity there, and you slept in Hotel A. You bought petrol B, and then subsequently, you spend this amount. You collect the invoices, and then you come and retire them. But for public service, even what they do is that, according to the Public Procurement Act, you're supposed to undertake, if it is not on emergency purposes, take at least 3 invoices of like, and then you choose the best based on your own discretion as a public officer. And if you are the supervisory president with supervisory ministers who sit with you in cabinet, and you are not able to guard them, make sure they do the right thing, then you have failed. In 2021, we lost over 10 billion. A year or two before, 12 billion. Since 2017, we've been losing lots of billions of Ghana cedis. You know, the explanation that we always say is that, well, it's not as if that somebody spends the money. But if you can't account for the monies, the conclusion anybody would draw is that the monies have been spent without any recourse to law. And that's the reality of the situation that we find ourselves. Let's all have just complete analysis. There's something that Danny will put on the screen. Just shows you amounts that have been spent. Big amounts. And if you take a look at this, funding source, Government of Ghana Contingency Fund, program supported, they say COVID-19 alleviation program, to the tune of 1.2 billion. Then there's 1.9 billion from the World Bank Group. On and on and on, totaling 21.8 billion Ghana cedis. At that time, the city was not even where it is. So it was not in the well, or in the Biri, or in the Densu. It was nicely at the Labadi beach.
Equivalent to 2.5.
Now, what explanation do we give
$2.5
the
billion
countries whose citizens pay the taxes, who gave us the monies to so-called alleviate our plight during the period of COVID? So if the concern over the period 2020, 2021 up to June 2022 is that we had lots of money for which at this point in time we shouldn't be complaining that we can't pay our debts, and so we even have to beg the IMF board to get 3 billion to create space so that we can go and borrow more while we are austere so that we can pay our debts. Then we have a problem as a country. What about those who give us the monies? If they were spending their money like this, would they be able to give us?
Exactly. And that's the question that I asked yesterday. I said, we are at the IMF asking for $3 billion, correct? Now, this amount that we're able to mobilize during COVID amounts to an equivalent of 2.5 billion US dollars, just short of 500 million of what we are asking for from the IMF. So if we had all these monies sitting with us between the time that the Auditor General put up this report and now, how are we now knocking on the door of the IMF shamefully the way we are? We're a proud nation. We will never go to the IMF. Then that should mean that we should have also been able to manage the resources that we have in this country. Where is this rot coming from? I personally want to look at 305, guys, if we have it ready. Unsupported payment of allowances. How do we sit in this country to even come out with a report that could actually pinpoint unsupported payment of allowances? How do you pay yourselves allowances or monies from the COVID-19 fund unsupported? Where does it happen? And how does it happen? 305, guys, if you have it ready, I would want to go through it. Now it says, Regulation 78 of the Public Financial Management Regulations 2019 provides that a principal spending officer of a covered entity shall personally ensure payments in respect of that covered entity are valid, accurate, and legal. These are the three words here: valid, accurate, and legal. He shall also ensure that evidence of services received, certificate for work done, and any other supporting documents exist. Now, 306. We noted from our audit that allowances totaling 811,800 were paid without adequate supporting documents. Apart from expenditure memos and sign sheets, there were no activity or program reports to support and authenticate the paid allowances. The table below shows the programs and activities undertaken without reports. Hey, Mother Ghana.
And you see, it's interesting that you've brought this up, because at the same time when these people were paying themselves, there were promises for the people who were at the forefront of this fight, the frontline health workers. There were promises that they were going to be provided insurance so that in case anything happens, they would have some money to rely on. Now, when you go to 107, it says here that general principles of insurance require that when an employer or organization purchases group life insurance policy to cover employees in case of death, accident, temporary or permanent disability, and critical illness, the employer or organization may keep the master agreement, but the identified employees should receive certificates of coverage which could be used by the beneficiary or next of kin to apply for the claims when the need arises. Additionally, the National Insurance Commission guidelines on life insurance products require that as a standard, all life insurance policy documents must have the names of the persons insured by the policy and the name of the policy owner, the amount of insurance coverage, face amount, and sum assured provided by the policy, and the effective date of the policy. And take note of this, because when you move to 109, it says that we observe that the ministry paid 10,309,919.94 Ghana cedis as premium for special life insurance cover for 10,000 health workers. 10,309,919 309,919.94 Ghana cedis as premium for special life insurance cover for 10,000 health workers and allied health professionals working on the COVID-19 pandemic without any life insurance policy document detailing the beneficiaries, their location, next of kin in case of death, nature of the benefits, and the term of coverage. And there are details to that. So if we can just put up the details, because it says that Enterprise Life Insurance Company Limited got 30% of the insurance deal, SIC got 20%, Glyco Life 15%, Star Life 7.5%, and we have Hollard, Ghana Union Assurance, My Life, GN Life, Allianz, and Ghana Life Insurance. Now, the chief director explained that insuring health workers under a pandemic was novel to the ministry and even the insurance industry in Ghana. Hence, they did not know which health workers to list and the ones to leave out. They therefore pay the premium for a blanket coverage of 10,000 health workers. 10,000 blanket. Now, health workers and allied professionals working on the COVID-19 pandemic who have not signed any insurance policy documents will find it very difficult to access any benefits under this blanket premium payment arrangement. In the event of default by the insurance companies in payment of benefits, the employees will not have the legal capacity to seek redress in court.
Unless you people run away.
In court.
And you know, these are things, if they were working within private sector, as well as with private sector organizations, they would have demanded. And it is very sad that these decisions are being taken at the finance ministry by people, especially a minister who has worked and gained his integrity and reputation in the private sector and has gone into the public sector and has supervised this. That is why when the calls were coming for these special audit to be done for how the COVID-19 funds were coming from, maybe they were being brushed away. Because if you take a look at the sources from where the fundings are coming from where the COVID audits have been done, they are only 6 sources. There are 3 more sources. There's some who go from Korea and some places. So the question again I keep asking is, if the individual tax contributors of those countries who gave us those monies decided that their governments would spend the monies that they contribute into their coffers that way,
this,
would we be in a position to have gained from them? If this was your private company, a British company, for example, would they manage this? They would not. If it was a company, let's say that was a multinational based in Ghana, would they manage things like this? No. And that takes me to the issue of how we've had the Public Financial Management Act well flouted. But, you know, when we're talking, they seem to think that we're the only people talking on. Let's first go to Martin Kpebu. Martin Kpebu was on key points. And this is what he said the president had given as a way of his bond or covenant. You know,
your word is your bond.
And what do we say? We said the battle is the Lord's. It's almost like he's giving a covenant to us with his God.
Anyway.
And this is what Martin Kpebu recalled. Being what the president said he would do.
Because he's the one, like we say, a fish rots from his head. Look, I have how many? 18 very notable quotes from the president. Please, let's run through. Then you get a summation of the National Cathedral in Ghana. 1, I shall protect the public purse. 2, I'm too old to steal your money. I have my money already. 3, oh, Alfred, wait, let me just finish. Now, no, try me and see. 5, I'm not corrupt, and I will never be corrupt. When was the last time he could repeat that statement? 6, I can develop Ghana without borrowing. The money is here. 7, I will transform Ghana in 18 months. 8, I will not operate a family and friends government. Well, the jury is out there. 9, I will fight corruption with the Anas principle. 10, I will make the Kole Lagoon and Odo River a tourist site. 11, I will build a factory in every district. 12, I will give each constituency 1 million every year. Well, we should find out today. 13, I will arrest the dollar. Great. 14, the hikes in fuel prices will be a thing of the past. Okay. 15, I'll make Accra the cleanest city in Africa. 16, I will build 111 hospitals in 18 months. 17, I will build 350 secondary schools. 18, we will never go to the IMF for a bailout. So you see.
And so these are the comments from the president. If I have to recall, there is a president of this continent who decided that in 2021, 2 years ago, or almost 2 years ago, the way his people manage COVID funds, he was going to fire them. The president of Malawi.
Right.
If a president of this continent can do that, then I think the president needs to do something beyond what the Public Accounts Committee, etc., will do on the Auditor General's
we're just talking about refunds. Money must be...
No.
Money's, I mean, what goes beyond money's getting refunded?
Exactly,
yes, what do you mean? Refund, or the proper documentations must be presented. Like, what do you mean?
Hold on, guys.
Monies have been spent, and you're saying
we have a health worker on the line. I think we should speak to him quickly.
All right.
And he is Prosper Senyo Sokwe. He's a frontline health worker. He was one of the people who was working in the labs testing for COVID-19.
Oh, the one who caught COVID twice.
Caught COVID twice.
Okay.
Did not receive any funding, has not received his insurance. Prosper, good morning. Good morning, Prosper. Can you hear us?
Yeah, good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
Vice Grace, I'm doing well.
Have you fully recovered from COVID since you caught it?
Since the time I've recovered from COVID, I have not been too well. What is happening is that I have not been the same, you know. At times what happens is that I still have, when I work for some time, I get tired easily. Now when I do something, I get tired easily. That's not how I used to be before COVID. And it's something that normally disturbs me. So I feel that COVID came to just make my life a bit problematic. So sometimes it's very difficult.
But explain to us, I mean, of course, we cannot exactly tell where exactly we caught the virus, but for you, you were working in a lab testing for COVID?
Yeah, we're the one testing at the lab as for the national.
And you caught COVID twice. Those 2 times when you caught it, did they fund your treatment at all? Did government fund your treatment?
It's so surprising that after so many years, that's about 2 years ago, or almost getting to 3 years now, and quite seeing some of these things is so disturbing. For some time now, when I'm even hearing statements on COVID, and especially when I hear people saying workers have been paid and those kind of things, it normally disturbs me because I feel so annoying, you know. I don't know the time. I don't know when something will be done, and I'll voluntarily go and do something. It's something that quite disturbing, especially within some aspects. You know, sometimes when I saw the AG report, and I was so surprised.
Why were you surprised?
I was so surprised because I filled this form, form for those who have gotten the COVID, and then we were asked to fill a form. I did this form. I filled this form 5 good times, and I even got to so many people just to make sure that the money promised by the president will be given. I did this several times. I did a follow-up. I got to certain people. The only thing I got to know was that there was no money in the coffers. That was what I was told.
This was when you filled the form 5 times to receive or to claim your insurance as a frontline health worker?
Yeah, as a frontline worker, I did that about 5 good times. And I did follow up. And up to now, nothing has even come up. I even told them if they cannot pay the insurance, the money I spent buying the medication, I have the receipt and everything. If they could even pay that money back, that would be enough for me. But to date, nothing happened. And coming to read some of these things, it's quite disturbing.
But they said they
Sometimes when I
paid.
read some of these things, my
Prosper.
heart just misses a beat,
Hold on. They said
Yeah.
they paid some 10 million Ghana cedis and in excess to the insurance company so they can disburse that to the frontline health workers. Do you know any of your colleagues who received this insurance at all?
No. Even I have a colleague who was a contact tracer. He died.
Oh.
He died during this process. The wife was even 8 months pregnant when my colleague died. Up to date, the family follow up to our association just to make sure that we are able to get the money for the wife. The child is almost 2 years old. And up to date, nothing has been done. Nothing. Absolutely nothing has been given to this family. There are so many of my colleagues. Some are colleagues and those things that have worked so tirelessly, more than 12 hours every day, and nothing has been given. We always continue hearing stories. Oh, it will come. It will come. More than 2 years. And nothing has been done, especially for the laboratory workers. Nothing has been given to us. And it's so disturbing that we wake up and be seeing this kind of thing happening. And I don't know whether when something happens again, we'll voluntarily go out that we want to support anything in this country.
Because you don't believe that there will be support for you at all?
There was no support. Not to even follow up and find out what even happened to us. The aftermath of COVID, the money we went to the to hospitals and things, nobody even cared.
Did you pay for your own treatment?
Pardon?
Did you pay
I paid for my own treatment. Even after the COVID, I have so many challenges. I do a follow-up to the hospital. We go and they render the service. They still take money from you, even though they are still aware that you are a frontline worker. You pay the money yourself. You pay the money yourself for the service, even though we are even a health worker. We still pay money. There is no insurance, nothing for us. And we wake up and we are hearing this kind of thing. It's quite disturbing. I don't know whether I'll ever do this or ever support anything Ghana. I'll never do anything Ghana. I've been bitter all along just because of this. There's no way I'll ever support or be patriotic. I'm telling you, I will never do that.
Prosper, I'm so sorry. Yeah. I'm so sorry about this. And I do hope, I remember that the last time, yes, we spoke on air and Dr. Thibault said she was going to try and find a way to make sure that you claim your insurance. I hope that that's on course, and we will keep following up to ensure that you and your colleagues are duly compensated for the work that you did for Mother Ghana. So stay strong. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
And so the blanket, the blanket
the
thing,
10 million.
And who did it go to?
No, it went to the insurance companies.
And they
30%, of course,
and
went to enterprise.
And they paid who?
Well,
they
paid
say about 4,000 of them.
These are the people who should have benefited.
They say about
so
4,000 people
if Prosper didn't benefit,
received.
Then...
there was categorization of people who were said to be frontline health workers. But over time, when COVID overwhelmed the various public health units of our country, the Ghana Health Service should have recategorized those who were frontline health workers. Because from the security person to the orderly,
they are also frontline workers.
All of them were exposed. It would take 6 days for test results to come out. There are people I personally know. For example, I visited the legal hospital very well, who said they had been given some amount of money. But that is where the question about the reconciliation comes in. So how many people did you pay? If it's 4,000, where are they located?
Yes.
Did you give them the corresponding documentation that showed that they benefited from the insurance?
Were they paid into bank accounts that we can trace?
An ordinary auditor sent by the Auditor General's department will need to do the verification.
Right.
And typical of us, we are not able to provide the needed verifiable documents.
We couldn't. Now, if you go to 113, it says that management responded that the insurance was a novelty package, devoid of the normal elements expected in a life policy where some parameters are clearly spelled out. So it was not possible, for example, to determine beforehand would-be victims of the pandemic. The process of identifying the qualified health workers was initiated in June 2020. A list of 6,961 workers who have applied for the insurance package have been submitted to the insurance companies. A total of 418 health workers have received payments from Enterprise Life, but management is yet to provide the list of the beneficiaries for verification. 418 of them.
And Enterprise, why should they get
have received it? But they are yet to give
30%, and our national insurance company is getting how much? National insurance company should be getting the biggest, like 60%. Then the rest gets small.
It doesn't make sense.
This one comes direct to the state. And you see, these are some of the questions that we keep asking. There's a president on this continent of Malawi. He decided that he was publicly going to name and shame and sack people from his government for misapplying funds.
The same funds and
COVID-19.
COVID-19.
I mean, let's recall that incident from the Malawian president. And I think he did a yeoman's job.
Every one of you, that there is no place on earth where these criminals will hide. The outrage and anguish you all feel from reading this audit report is not only righteous, but also one that I personally feel. And now that the evidence related to the $6.2 billion is before us, I'm taking action. As I speak, over a dozen individuals suspected of committing the crimes exposed by this audit report have just been arrested by the Malawi Police Service. So I want all of the thieves hiding in the civil service to mark my words. If the finger of evidence points to you as one of the thieves that stole COVID money for saving lives while hundreds of our people were dying of COVID, you are going to prison. On top of that, we will use the relevant laws to ensure that you pay back what you stole. Mubwezi, I have directed the Secretary to the President Cabinet, Mr. Zanga Chikosi, to interdict without pay those public officers on whose direct watch the financial mismanagement occurred. As for the Minister of Labor, who was named by the audit report as having spent COVID funds amounting to $613,000 on his allowances for a foreign trip, I have dropped him from my cabinet accordingly. Even though the minister has since returned the money, his usage of the funds means that the money was unavailable for its intended purpose when it was needed most. And I cannot have in my cabinet any individuals who either spend money budgeted for one thing on something else or do not ask tough questions to ensure that the money they are spending on something was budgeted for that purpose. As far as I'm concerned, anyone who steals or wastes public funds is a traitor to this country. I pray that God's curse will rest on anyone who steals even one kwacha of the public funds that God has entrusted us to use in serving Malawians.
Both mentioning God, one doing God's work, the other
Building
cathedral.
Building a
Cathedral is God's work.
No, the way the expenditure pattern has been on the cathedral, that's not God's work. And you see them, they are all speaking slang. So our president speaks slangs, Lafa. This man too speaks Lafa, proper Lafa. He has decided to go public way back in 2021 to fire
No, but
responsible.
it's not though.
This
Our
one.
president, I mean, on only dia no if you're butchery or
Okay, sorry. Maybe my English is
Yeah,
not locally
because Lafa
acquired
is-
foreign
yes,
accents.
locally acquired.
His own
He
is
didn't-
Fafa, foreign
foreign
acquired, foreign.
Yeah, whatever it
accent.
is.
Fafa.
We have all, and we have seen
Slow
our
down.
president go live on COVID.
Okay.
Now, post this report, we want our president to take action. We know what the Constitution says about the role of the Auditor General in Article 187, and subsequently what the surcharge mandates that the Auditor General has. But the president, as chief executive of the land, can do more than what the Auditor General can do. Because we have seen what the Auditor General does. The last time Daniel Demelevu tried to do the surcharge based on the constitutional mandate given to him as an Auditor General, we all called him
wasn't
names.
Ghanaian.
That is why auditors, when they are working with the Auditor General's department, they should protect their own. Abaya de botichin, yeah, the boba. Now, because of how you all castigated Daniel Domelevo, you can't go about surcharging public office, big men and women in public office who have chopped money. You have chopped money because you can't account for the money.
But talking
And
about
that is our conclusion.
accounting for the money, I remember when the health minister, when Minority was asking the health minister to come to the floor of parliament
The one that he
and
said he
give an
wasn't
account
in his-
of the COVID expenditure, he said that he cannot do that if the Auditor General has not done a proper audit.
Now
The
we
same
have
one
of the
that he said he
expenditure.
wasn't
Now,
in his right
the same
state of
man,
mind.
Now the Auditor General has done the report. Let's see when he's going to come
They'll
before
tell you that
parliament
it will go to
and
Public
give a
Accounts Committee.
breakdown.
Exactly.
No, but I mean, he said it himself that he cannot do that. I don't know if he said it himself or it was the majority members of parliament, but they said that if the Auditor General has not done a report, he cannot come to the floor of parliament. Now we have the report. When is the health minister coming to explain to us how we have 81 million Ghana cedis worth of vaccines that we have not received yet?
Is
And
it?
Where is it?
Is it?
You
Is
see, why
it
have
with
we not
UNICEF
received
through?
it?
And let me just add on to that one. So yesterday, Kwabena Mintaka.
That money, is it with UNICEF?
We don't even know where it is.
Well, UNICEF needs to come out
So
and explain.
yesterday-
Ghana we do.
Yesterday, I was listening to Kwabena Mintaka. He's the
Minority
MP,
spokesperson on
yes,
health.
for Gwaboso. And then he's also a ranking member, Health Committee in Parliament. Now he says that, are we going on break? Can I go on? Are we going on break?
Maybe we should take
Okay,
a break.
let's take a break
Okay,
when
we'll
we
be
come
back.
back.